they were to just define time by saying, like, if you ask the question, what is time? Time is your inner sense of connected awareness, right? Where you're aware that you're aware right now, and that there's been other times that you have had awareness, and that somewhere in your experience as the being that you are, those awarenesses are connected. Okay. So that in a certain sense, then, like, say, linear time is the agreement to connect our awareness of time. So I'm saying, basically it's that we all are saying, okay, there's 365 days in a year, there's 24 hours in a day, there's 60 minutes in an hour, and there's 60 seconds in there's 60 minutes and 60 seconds, right? Like, that whole thing is essentially an agreement to connect our senses of time. So that when I say 5 p.m. Eastern time, oh yeah, and we've got time zones too, right? 5 p.m. Eastern time, we all know what that means. Now, it might not, 5 p.m. Eastern time obviously is different because of the way we've decided, right? Like, we haven't decided that all time zones will have exactly the same time. So that 5 p.m. for me is at night, and 5 p.m. for whoever's on the other side of the earth from me is in the morning, or what we call the morning, right? Like, 5 p.m. is not for, and so like, all of that's the mechanics of time. And we've all agreed to connect our individual awarenesses to that perception of time. I mean, we can decide not to, right? Like, like, you can just
still
decide.
we would have that experience as humans, like the human consciousness time. And then
Yes.
I wonder, so the time expression is, if time expression is just something from one part of the universe, because it appears at one point. So even scientists talk about, before this point there was no time, and then at this point time starts to exist. So I wonder if it's just part of one of the agreements in our universe, or our part of the universe, or whatever. And
Yeah,
how
it is.
does that affect the, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, okay. So, if we go back to where we always begin, which is everything is energy, and energy flows on a continuum from potential to form, and that every energy all flows of energy has 3 characteristics that cannot be disconnected one from the other, right? So if you have a flow of energy, you always have motion, intention, and knowing. So the knowing is what gives awareness, right? So another word that we could use there is awareness, right? So all flows of energy have awareness, they have knowing. So that from that perspective, time is the awareness of your motion and intention, and how it moves on the continuum from potential to form, and form to potential. So that when scientists say this is when time began, they're saying that out of, I think the best way to say it is agreements about mechanical time or linear time. They're saying that from the way they define linear time, there's a place at which there wasn't linear time. So
But still
that
time is an entity before that.
right. So that that, you know, like so like if time mechanically doesn't exist, if time linearly doesn't exist, then that's where time is all about the reference point of the individual's awareness, of the energy flows awareness, which means that it's not going to be necessarily the same for any flow unless a flow has decided to make an agreement with another flow to have at least some interconnected experience of awareness. Because I mean, like what they're saying to me, like there are environments where our awareness is not connected, where, you know, like say for example, something like water doesn't have connected awareness. It has knowing, but in its knowing, it isn't, its awareness in a sense would just be one flow, as opposed to different experiences of flow. So that the container of time is like more infinite in scale than finite in scale. And so that then, depending on, like, in a certain sense, like your idea of the container and the contained is a very interesting thing, because there is an aspect of time from the individual reference point that's about whether or not there is observation. Because in a certain sense, what gives the awareness of time is to be observed, and then to observe in return. So that in a certain sense, there would be an aspect of time that only happens within connection. Like that's part of the reason why they're saying like water would be a good example of something that doesn't really experience time, is because it's a fluid motion. Like if you just think of the water in and out at a beach, it's you know, that the water is essentially, the awareness of the water is just always at that point of the ebb and the flow, and you know, it's just in and out and in and out, and it doesn't stop and say, oh, it took me 5 seconds to do that ebb, and now look, it only took me 7 seconds to do that flow, right? It's not bringing awareness or knowing into that experience in the same way that we would have, where we would know, oh, you know, I walked down that beach, it only took me an hour. Or you can walk down the beach and completely lose any sense of time. But at some point, you're going to realize that you've been walking on the beach.
That's
right?
from our point of view, because from the point of view of water, there is also time expression in the cycle of it.
Right.
But there is another type of, yeah, it's another type of expression, but it still is time.
Well, from our point in particular, it's still time, because we see it as
filter.
Yeah, right. We see it through our filter, right? Like, I mean, in a certain sense, ebb and flow is a description of time in a weird way, right? Like ebb and flow, that whole idea of the cycle is an expression of time, which isn't necessarily like, say, what the ocean water experiences. Because its experience relative to ours is going to be much more fluid and not have those differentiated moments.
Which means that we are experiencing other things like time in a way that we are not aware that other beings in the planet are experiencing as we are experiencing time.
That's right.
But for them, we are like the water.
That's right.
Okay.
Hmm. And for them, we're not as mechanical as they are. Or, I mean, it's just, it's about, it has to do with how you connect to the awareness of your energy flow. So that in one sense, another way to talk about it is, and I know there are indigenous tribes that talk about this way, and in some of the darsanas in Hinduism and Buddhism, they talk about this. But one way to think about it is that there's only one present moment, which from our perspective would be stretched across the entirety of time. So there's no ebb or there's no flow or whatever, or that it's all flow, however you want to describe it. So it's just this one huge motion. Like the word yuga, the Sanskrit word yuga, Y-U-G-A, refers to that unfolding. And then it comes back. And that's the motion of time. I mean, they're saying that's like what David Bohm has to say about the implicate and explicate orders, is that it's a relationship of how time is expressed. But there's very, very few things on the planet that where time is not expressed through sort of, let's say, mechanical expression. Because that's what helps us understand time, is a mechanical expression. So what we tend to bring to any discussion of time is mechanics, because that's how we understand it. But not all time is mechanical. And I mean, like that's, for example, the point of, let's say, to some extent, that's the point of meditation, is to step yourself out of the awareness of mechanical time and just hang like in the present moment of your awareness without, like any push. Now, that's not the only way that you can experience non-mechanical time. You can also just listen, which is what they think we're going to be spending more and more time learning.